Welcome to the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast, a podcast where we teach speakers how to land paid speaking engagements and corporate contracts. Each week, we deliver high-quality content that teaches you how to level up your speaking business. Be sure to join the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group after having your mind blown by this information-filled episode. Now, here's your host, Ashley Kirkwood, lawyer and professional speaker. This is the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast.
Hey guys, it's Ashley Kirkwood back with the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast, and I'm super excited to have with us Jasmine Womack today, who is a publisher, author, and speaker. And we're going to talk all things entrepreneurship, but I'm super excited because for all the speakers out there who are like, how else can I monetize my message and start speaking my way to cash? One of the things you can do is publish a book and bulk sell that book. And we'll get into how Jasmine's been able to build six figures from one book and how she helps authors all around the country to do the same. So welcome, Jasmine. How are you doing today?
I'm super excited to be here. Super excited to have this conversation.
Definitely. So Jasmine, tell us a little bit about your company and what you do now.
Yes, so my company is P31 Publishing. We specialize in helping experts to monetize their message and their experience. So that means if you have a story, if you have any type of expertise and you want to package that in a book in order to teach others, then that's what we help you to do. And after the book, then I help you to expand your brand and expand your business by creating programs, high-ticketed coaching and consulting and speaking. So yeah, it's done a lot for me and a lot for my clients. And so I really love what I do.
So how did you get started in this, and how does speaking play a role in your business today?
Okay, so I got started in this because I have always been a writer. So even before I was teaching language arts, as a child, I used to write. I used to keep notebooks of poems and stories. And then when I got into college, I was always like writing critical essays, and I was always asked to speak on panels, asked to speak at different events on the college. I graduated my undergrad degree at Fort Valley State University. It's the HBCU in Fort Valley, Georgia, down near Macon. And I was always asked to speak on these panels. I was asked to speak at assemblies, freshman. It was a big assembly for our freshman week one year. And I was always writing and performing spoken word and co-producing open mics. And so back in the early 2000s, like 2002, 2003, that's when Def Poetry Jam was really popular on HBO. And that's when they were coming out with other little poetry shows. And so someone that I knew at the time, they had a lot of connects and I had the organizational skills. And so they would reach out to these people that had been on these national shows, get them to come down for free. And I would do like the marketing and the word of mouth and make sure the contracts were in place. And we would have like these open mics where the whole entire student body would come down into the student center. And it was just like amazing, just trying to find something to do in a time there wasn't anything to do. So you're creating stuff to do. So, I had those experiences, but I didn't think that all of that was preparation for where I am now. Right. And actually, while I was completing your questionnaire, I was like, wow, God was preparing me for this way back then. And I had no clue because I was on something totally different.
That's awesome. I think one of the challenges that a lot of people, in my opinion, a lot of people don't get paid to speak, because I do a lot of speaking coaching through Speak Your Way to Cash and through the private programs that we offer. And the biggest issue that I see is people don't do what they know to do. So even if I give them the roadmap to booking paid engagements, sending out those blind pitch emails is very difficult for them. And even if I say you should write a book, getting started and completing the book is very, very difficult. So do you have any tricks of the trade that you recommend to people who are like, I would love to work with you as a publisher, but I haven't even finished my book. It's just in my head. How do you recommend people get it out of their heads and onto paper?
Well, the first thing that I tell my people to do is to write what write what like, don't try to write what you see other people writing. Write about your experience, tell your story, it's the story that frees people. So even if you are writing a business book, you still have to incorporate story in order to share the principles. And another thing that I tell my authors to do is that you definitely want to start with an outline, but an easy way to write your book very easily is by talking it. So I have my authors really to dictate their book. So there are so many different free resources and tools such as Google Docs, voice to text. There's Temi, T-E-M-I, it's a transcription tool. There are so many different apps that you can literally talk into. You can click the transcription button and it will literally type out everything that you said. And the reason why I say this is because we can sit here and get on the phone with a friend or get on the phone with, talk to someone that we know and tell them what we know. Tell them about our experience, tell them what we're doing. But then when we sit there and try to write it, then it becomes difficult because, especially if you are an overthinker, you start editing as you write, you start just looking over things too many times saying, hey, this doesn't sound right, or this doesn't sound good enough, and I want to add this and that. But if you just talk it, you can go ahead and get it out. And you would be surprised at how much content written you would get if you simply talk for 5 minutes. Simply talking for 5 minutes and talking about your experience, sharing your expertise for 5 minutes straight, you would be surprised at how many pages and the word count that would give you, So I definitely tell my authors to start with an outline and then use the outline as a guide, on which to follow as you are dictating, your story.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And for all the speakers out there, since a lot of you would be writing in order to, most people who are listening to the podcast are listening because they want to be professional speakers. They want to get paid to speak. And so one thing I would say to you all, because more than likely you're not going to sell a book that is fiction in order to enhance your speaking career. So if you're looking to write in order to enhance your speaking career, think about the title of your book as your signature speech. Think about each chapter of the book as a workshop you can give to a corporation or a college. And when you're writing that outline that Jasmine talked about, one of the easiest things that I found is just write the 25 lessons or the 25 workshop titles that you would like to give. And then each subchapter, maybe there's 3 or 4 subchapters, are like points of your speech. And then there you go. That's your whole book. And it's really, really, really easy then to utilize that book later on down the road when you're sending it out to decision makers or when you're pitching different schools to present your topics. So you want your book, if you haven't started it yet and you're using it as a marketing tool, think of it really as a marketing tool for those purposes, because that's going to help you with bulk selling and getting engagements and all of that stuff as well. So I like the points that you gave a lot. And I'll have to link to, you said it was Jimmy is one of the resources?
Temi, T-E-M-I. It's actually,
okay.
Yes, it's a website and you can download it as an app. Now, okay. Temi is 1 cent a minute, but like one of the things that I do is I transcribe my live streams and turn them into blog posts. So, or not my live streams, but my little IG videos or YouTube videos. And so if I have, I did do an IG video, but say I took a 30-minute live stream, it was like $3 and some change to transcribe,
Right.
Very, very cheap, and I you could turn that into a blog post. You can turn that into an ebook. You can give that away as a freebie, as a free item for attendees when you go to speak. Like the possibilities are endless.
That is really, really cool, especially because it was, when I first started speaking, the most challenging thing was like, how do I come up with a freebie for a college? So when you're dealing with colleges and corporate clients, they don't want the freebies, the same freebies that my consumers may like. And a lot of corporations actually want white papers, which are not fun to write, at least for me. So I think that's a great idea. So Temi, I'll have to link to that resource for sure. And Jasmine, what was your first book?
My first book was 20 Pearls of Wisdom, A Woman's Guide to Self-Preservation. I honestly had the urge to just write the book, and it kept coming. And I'm like, if I knew then what I know now, there's so many things that I would have done differently. But the point was for me to get the book out. And it was getting the book out that opened up the doors. It was me literally having a book and people on Facebook seeing that I had a book. That's what got me my first few speaking engagements. You know, people saying, hey, I'm hosting this event, this women's empowerment event. Will you come and speak? You know, I was like, yeah, sure. So really, that's how, after college, that's how I got into, you know, that was like kind of like my segue into speaking, just speaking at different workshops and things. And I did that for maybe about 6 months to a year before I started taking it any type of seriously, you know.
That makes sense. And I know for a lot of people, they think that they're disillusioned that by writing the book and completing it and by finishing it, then it is already ready for monetization and that they're going to get a lot of money from that book because it's out there, because it's on Amazon, or because they have the Kindle version. And that just is not necessarily the case. That's never the case. Most people who have really, honestly, I was listening to a guy who got his book on the New York Times bestseller list. He had it reviewed by various celebrities and he had it in all the airport bookstores. And he was saying that the cost for him to do that and the cost of his marketing was $250,000 just in marketing and promotion to get the book the visibility that we now see as these, you know, highly regarded, highly successful books. So what do you recommend to authors in terms of monetizing the book, and how were you able to turn one book into 6 figures?
Okay, so the very first thing that I did, I released my book in October of 2016, but I had been promoting it for 3 months. So when I launched the book and when it went on pre-order, I made a lot of money very fast in pre-sales. I used that money to pay for the printing of the book. A lot of it went towards my book launch. And then a couple months later, around, you know, November going into December, you know, book sales started slowing down. So I was like, okay, I want to leave my job. And this book is going to have to be the conduit to make it happen, because by that time I had finished up my specialist degree. I had a master's and by this time a specialist. And I knew that I didn't want to go into administration. I was a teacher, but I knew I didn't want to go into administration because of the time. I said, you know, if I want my time freedom, if I want my time back, I can't go into administration where they're going to take away my summers. I'm going to be required to come up here on the weekends. I'm going to have to, you know, stay in the afternoons and all of the meetings and then bring my kids up here. So I'm like, this book is going to have to get it done. And so instead of just sitting down watching my sales dwindle, I decided to do what was called, it was a 21-day challenge called Get Your House in Order. And so I built my business online because that was all I had at the time. Like, I was working, so I couldn't get out and about. So I had to use social media. So I marketed, I ran some ads, went from 0 to about 400 or 500 on my email list, got all these people to enroll in this 21-day Get Your House in Order challenge.
How did you know how to run ads successfully? Because I feel like I just hired someone for a stack for like 3 hours to teach me Facebook ads.
I didn't. I literally, at the time, I boosted a post and I boosted to friends and friends of friends. And I boosted it for maybe $10, $15 for like 3 or 4 days. And other than that, I was blasting all over the place on Facebook. And the thing about it, though, is that I created the challenge based on principles in my book. So people who had not purchased my book, like when I came out with my book, I did, you know, videos, YouTube videos talking about different chapters in my book, the inspiration behind me writing the book. But then I said, okay, well, let me pull out some of the most important components that I stress on or that I teach in the book, which was personal growth and development for women. Let me break it down into this 21-day challenge, what a lot of women are saying that they need difficulty with. And it aligned because it was going into the new year. It was going into 2017. So, you know, you have all those new year, new me people. Right. And so a lot of people opted in because we started on January 1st. And so we did this 21-day challenge. I did it for free. I literally did like 21 videos in a Facebook group. I showed up every day. I created a workbook. I mean, it was awesome. I had amazing testimonials. But then after that, I kept selling books here and there. And then I started doing a few speaking engagements here and there. But then people started coming back asking for more.
Right.
And they said, can you do the challenge again? It's March and I've fallen off and I need some help.
Okay.
So by this time, though, I was like, 21 days is way too long. It's way too much for me to do anything for free. So I'm going to charge for it this time. I was like, I'm going to charge $10. Let me see if anybody paid me $10. But I had about 30 people that paid me $10 for this 21-day challenge. And I made $300. And that was my first taste of generating any type of revenue from online sales. And the great thing about it was I was making money off of something that I had already created. So I didn't have to create the workbook anymore. All I did was update the cover page, you know.
Right.
And those 30 women, because they paid, they were, you know, involved. And at the end of that 21-day challenge, I offered them the opportunity to continue working with me in a membership program. So I had created a membership community. And my goal was to get 10 people at $25 a month. And I ended up getting like 13 at $25 a month. And then that grew to 20. And before you knew it, I was making $500 recurring revenue every month. And I was like, okay. And so that was my segue into it, because I literally created additional products and services and coaching based off of principles that I had created in my book. Like even my membership community was based off of the same principles of the challenge, which was based off of the same principles of the book. But in that, I started going live. I used to speak. We used to do weekly class every Sunday. So that was me. Like I said, because I couldn't get out, because I had children, small children at the time. My son was 1. I was newly married. I couldn't just get out in the middle of the week because I was still working a 9 to 5. So for me, I had to use the platform that I had to speak, which was at that time my membership community and doing videos. And this was before live stream came out. And so when live stream came out, I still was too scared to go live, but I said, you know what? I'm going to do a video a day and post it. Literally. So I was doing motivational videos and instructional videos. I did a video a day, every single day, Monday through Friday for 6 months.
Whoa.
Yes. And those videos is what got me paid speaking engagements. People started reaching out to me and saying, hey, you know, I want you to come speak at this event in Texas, or I want you to come speak at this event, you know, at this conference. I want you to come speak at this workshop. And so around that time, that's when I started, you know, let me take this a little bit more seriously and like really start learning the craft. And so I connected with the speaking coach and started learning how to deliver a speech. I started learning about the business behind speaking and the importance of having contracts in place and things of that nature. And so that was my journey was unconventional, but that was my journey into speaking.
That is really cool. And so it sounds like in terms of monetizing your book, you did speaking challenges. Did you offer one-on-one coaching as well based on those principles?
I started one-on-one coaching, but I started one-on-one coaching in the membership because people wanted more. And so before I started, and I started my publishing company too. And so people in membership, they wanted more than the group setting. And so they said, hey, I want some one-on-one with you. And so that's when I started one-on-one. And then I even implemented a tier into the membership community, which included one-on-one coaching. That lasted for a while, maybe 8 months. But then I shut that down because it was just way too much with my children and my family and, you know, having to do these meetings in the evenings after everybody gets off of work. And I wasn't getting paid what I wanted because I wasn't confident at that time with my pricing. Like I was just starting. But yeah, that's totally different now. I think the important thing is you have to figure out what works for you and you have to build a business around that.
And it sounds like you built your business based on built-in demand. And I think that that is something that a lot of people fail to do because they are launching something that the market hasn't necessarily requested. And so they have to disrupt people's ordinary buying procedure to sell something that they didn't say they wanted. And then you're selling them on the product itself, the service itself, plus the cost of your actual item. And one of the things we'll talk about at Speak Your Way to Cash. And for those of you listening who are like, oh, this is a great interview, just know I'm actually coming to Atlanta to do Speak Your Way to Cash Atlanta, and Jasmine will be speaking about publishing. So you'll be able to get all of your self-publishing questions answered and find out more about working with her. But note that she created a demand for herself. And then when people asked for more, she created products around that demand. The pricing of it, though, guys, if you've never spoken before, that doesn't necessarily mean that your price should be low. However, whenever you charge someone for something, there's an expectation. So one of the things I heard Jasmine say that I definitely want to point out is that she learned the craft of speaking. It's really important that you're good. Even if I teach you to get on stage, I could teach you how to sell all day. I'm a salesperson. That's not a problem, as well as a really good speaker. But I was a really good speaker before I learned how to sell. So I could teach you how to get on stage, but if you get up there, they pay you and you're really bad, they won't invite you back. And when people ask them how you were, which they will make sure that they don't invite you back either. You really do need to be good. That is going to help you out a lot. That's how you're going to get additional engagements. So I'm glad that you did that, because most people don't. They think about monetizing it, but they don't actually think about how to be excellent at the craft.
I will say this. I had a speaking engagement that I bombed. And matter of fact, this speaking engagement was the same day of my book release. So it was in October, and I had gotten asked to speak at this event, and it was like a women's event for breast cancer. It was like a breast cancer fundraiser. And the room was packed. And when I tell you, I totally bombed it, and I didn't really know much about speaking then, but I knew that I bombed it. Like in regard to my performance, I knew I bombed it, and I said never again. Because I literally had to leave there and then go to the event location and start helping my husband and the event planner and everybody that was already there, getting everything together for that evening. My husband was like, why did you schedule a speaking engagement the same day as your book release? I was like, it was an opportunity to speak.
My husband always, he looks at my schedule and he's like, why would you do that? Why are you flying out at midnight and you got to speak at 10 a.m.? Why didn't you take her? Husbands always know. But okay, so most people have had something like that happen. And I'll tell you guys, if you bomb, there is still a way to recover. Because let's say you're a really good speaker. Even now, I know how to speak. I'm really good at it, but you could get really bad news before you go on stage. Things can happen. So if you do bomb, one thing I saw someone do that I thought was pretty cool is they offered a monetary gift to people in the audience. They knew they were bombing. It was like I was watching them bomb. It was actually a comedian, and he was speaking to a room full of entrepreneurs. He was bombing terribly, and he's famous, but he's cool, so I'm not gonna say his name. And he ended up doing an impromptu $2,000 scholarship to an entrepreneur in the room. And that was so revolutionary for the women in the room that now they're going to remember that, and not only remember that he bombed, but if you do bomb an event and you don't have 2 stacks to just spend because you're not a celebrity, then send a follow-up card with a handwritten note and then offer something in exchange, send complimentary books, send flowers, and then offer an explanation, but maybe don't make it like an excuse, if that makes sense. Because you just never know. And sometimes people will have mercy on you, because everyone has had that experience. I did a presentation for Philip Morris and it did not go well. I was like a student at this time. It was for an internship. And after that presentation, I interned at Enterprise the following summer and got the #1 spot. Failing just makes most people think, everyone thinks differently, but for people like us, it does make you think, I'm never going to do this again.
Well, I didn't have that thought. For me, it was,
or I'm never going to fail again.
I was like, that's when I realized the importance of learning how to deliver a good and engaging speech, because a lot of people that I had seen up until that point, they didn't take speaking seriously. They would just get up and talk. And then I did the same thing with my notes and bombed it. And I said, this is never going to happen again. I said, and it was at that point because I'm like, I don't like to look bad.
Right.
You won't catch me slipping. So, I said that was when I realized the importance of needing to learn how to craft and deliver an engaging speech. And I didn't know where to go at that time, but shortly after that is when I ended up joining a membership community at the time that was focused on becoming a better speaker. And so it was really cool because I could learn tips and things like that. And I just kind of learned and grew very slowly, over time. And yeah, I'm just glad to say that I'm not that bad. I'm not as bad as I was. I'm not bad now, but definitely, basically I've made, strides, since I first started. I'm a pretty good speaker now. I know how to captivate a room, but yeah, that was horrible.
That's an important thing to note. And especially for those of you who are at home who are like, I really want to speak. I haven't done it yet, or you're in the first couple of years of your speaking career. One of the things that I see a lot is people have these phenomenal stories. There was a woman who attended Speak Your Way to Cash Chicago, and her story was ridiculous. It was such a good, life-changing story. And I'm like, you should be on stages all over the world. However, because it was a story that she'd lived through, she hadn't taken the time to map out her story and, pause at certain elements of the story so that it's the most impactful to the audience. So what we did is we had her regurgitate her story. And while she did that, I mapped out her signature story on the board. And we were able to say, okay, so the pivotal points in your life are age 9, age 17, age 25. These are the 3 points of your signature story. And then go through the elements of that story that make sense, because a lot of people do think I can just get up there and talk. And a lot of conference organizers accommodate people who just get up there and talk, maybe because they're popular on social or whatever. And it's fine if you're going to do that, not for a professional speaker, but for someone who's just talking, that's fine. But it's not going to make the most impact. So I think it's really, really, really critical that if you can put it in a book, that may be a benefit to you, because then you'll have those key points hopefully mapped out, especially if you get coaching. Do you offer coaching for that, for people before they've written their book, to kind of keep them on track and help them map it out?
I, in my program, Business Behind the Book, after you have written your book, then you come into our VIP weekend in our program to learn how to use your book to map out your signature story.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
And so everything that I teach now is based around the book, because the book is the foundation of it all. And so when you create your book strategically, then you should be able to pull programs. You should be able to pull workshops. You should be able to pull your speaking topics. You should be able to pull a ton of your content from there, And so one of the things I like to tell people, don't say that you want to speak in corporate, but then you go and write a children's book. Your book, whatever it is you want to do, your book needs to be in alignment with that. And so even for me, I'm making a shift in regards to my speaking, because the past several years I've spoken at entrepreneurial conferences, women's business conferences, and things of that nature. But now I'm in the stage where I am making a pivot, going into the corporate market, going into the educational market. And so my speaking topics are changing. And not only that, I have to write a book. I'm writing a book to go along with it. And because this is where those bulk book sales come from. This is where, the additional consultation and the extra money comes from. And so I can't go into the corporate. I can go in and speak, but I can't go into a business, teaching about, business growth through personal development. Well, I can't teach about business growth, and communication and team building and trying to sell 20 Pearls of Wisdom, which is a book for young college women. It doesn't align, so this is something that you definitely want to consider if you are a speaker and you need to write a book, or if you are an aspiring author who wants to speak. You need to think about what your end goal is. Okay, what is it that you want to do? Who do you want to speak to? What type of workshops do you want to have? And you need to write a book that's in alignment with that. Now, that's not to say that years down the line, you won't make a pivot like I am. because I'm still going to be talking to the young college girls. I'm still going to be talking to the entrepreneurial conferences, but my mainstay in regards to speaking is going to be in that corporate sector.
Yeah, and that's probably financial. Like that makes that makes a lot of sense financially. And I'll tell you guys, for those of you who are like, well, where should I speak? Should I do corporate? Should I not? My book is called The Law School Hustle. So I only use it for law schools and colleges. But here's what I'll tell you all about colleges. Most of the colleges that I bulk sell my book to, they buy my speaking and then they buy my book without even knowing what it's about. Literally. Like I had a contract and we were able to get it up $2,000 just by them buying my book. But they didn't they didn't need to see the book. They didn't know anything about the book. But because it's about law school, it still relates to like the college market as well. But we are going to do a second edition called The College Hustle. For corporations, I don't sell bulk books because like you're saying, my book is The Law School Hustle. So I am writing another book called The Currency of Confidence, all about sales strategy for sales professionals. But you do want to think about that. And with corporations, a lot of people think, okay, I can go in, I'm going to speak at a corporation, and then I could sell this book. But the other thing you could sell are your services. So I have a client who sells fitness packages. Companies always want to make sure people are healthier. So we developed a plan for her to bulk pitch her fitness packages, which are $1,000 each. But if 50 employees enroll, we could do it for $850 each. So, do the math on that. That's pretty good too. So don't think, if you don't have a book yet, I think you should write the book. Like Jasmine is saying, it's never going to be a bad thing to have a book. Like, it's just, I don't know why you would, like, you should always be looking to have a book that corresponds with your speaking message, but start pitching now. Because you need some no's under your belt too. You definitely know how that feels for people to be like, nope, we're not interested. We don't want you to come. What are you talking about? I don't like your website. Like, you definitely want to start getting those no's under your belt. And then one thing that you talk about on social media is bulk book selling, which is foreign to a lot of authors. How did you get into that, and how do you recommend people approach it?
I got into it, like, for instance, I'm doing a workshop with the student leaders of Georgia State this Saturday, and so because I'm doing the workshop, she says, what are your books? I want to order, one of each of your books for all of our students. Boom. So that's all of our attendees. So I got into bulk book selling, honestly, through doing workshops. In the beginning, they would be free workshops, but then I upsell the book, so I'm coming in to do this for free, but I have a book for sale. Would you like to purchase some? So that's just kind of how I did it, how I swung it with the workshops that I've done. And it worked out.
Have you ever affirmatively pitched a school to bulk buy the book and then throw in your speaking?
My books were not for schools, okay. So remember, like, when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing. So like my second book is a book on prayer, my first book is a book on personal development, and it was for young college women and women like right after college. But I didn't know anything about bulk book sales when I started. I just kind of figured that out along the way on the publishing side. And so I don't want to negate that. Like, my publishing business has sustained me, and so now I'm in the position where I am bringing on team members to get the publishing off of my lap so that Jasmine can build her business, so to speak, and do the things that I've been wanting to do, but I haven't been able to do because I've been busy publishing books and teaching people how to build their empires.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. And how has it been, building your entrepreneurship or building your business as an entrepreneur, leaving your, I guess it would still be like corporate job, but essentially for everyone listening who wants to leave their 9-to-5, how has that transition been for you as an entrepreneur?
For me, it was fairly easy because when the transition first happened, it was difficult because I didn't leave by choice. I left due to what I considered a disgruntled supervisor, who started they were coming at me, honestly, all year trying to make my life a living hell, to be honest with you. And so by January, I had actually took a personal leave day because I was going to speak at Alabama State. So I took a personal leave day to go speak at Alabama State. And when I returned, I was informed that I was basically being put on probationary work. So I think that they were like watching me on social media, but I had a personal day, but they were just, coming after me. And so I was like, by that time I had been teaching for 12 years. And I was like, this is baloney. Like, I've never caused any problems. I'm a good teacher. My test scores are good, X, Y, and Z. You were just tripping.
Yeah.
And so I refused to work under her the following year. And so when she put me on paperwork, basically, it's called an informal PLP, professional learning plan. I was like, absolutely not. I was like, I turned in my resignation. I said, I'm going to finish the year out, but I'm not coming back. And then I told my husband, I was like, I'm not going back next year. But by that time, my business had already surpassed what I was making on my job. So I was making $3,500 a month on my job. That's why I was bringing in, that was my check every month, $3,500 after 12 years of teaching with 3 degrees.
Wow.
In my business, I was already making 6 figures. I was already bringing in, $8,500 a month from my business. And so, I was like...
Was that the publishing company?
That was publishing, my membership community, everything kind of combined, mostly my publishing and my membership community.
Wow. And
so I knew that I had the ingredients, but I knew that I lacked some structure. So I got a VIP day with a high-end coach. We basically put in the pieces that I was missing that I knew I needed. And that's when I created a program. And I didn't just create a program just because I wanted to. I created a program because people kept asking me, I want to write a book, but I don't know where to start. Like, I was doing 20 discovery calls a week. And if people weren't ready to publish, they would always say, I want to write a book, but I don't know where to start. And I was honestly tired of getting on the phone, wasting time with people who just wanted, a free session, and I would just shut it down. But I took note of that. They said, I want to write a book, but I don't know where to start. So that's when I said, let me create the solution to this problem. So everything that I've always done my research, and I've always created what people said that they wanted. So that's where my Author Made Easy, the Author's Bootcamp. You can, write and finish your book in 8 weeks or less, because most aspiring authors write a book and then they're working on it for 2 or 5 years and they never finish it or have difficulty finishing it, or they want to write a book and they really don't know how to begin it. I'm sorry. And so I created the program, and I started getting all these success rates. So here I was,
what's included in the program? So what do they, do you have to come with just an idea, or what do you need to come with?
You just need to know what you want to write your book about, and it needs to be a nonfiction topic. So you need to come with that, and you need to come with an open mind, because the strategy that I teach you is totally different from the strategy that you've probably been taught or have been learning. However, the strategy that I teach will help you to get your book done quickly.
Okay.
So there I was. And so, my process happened pretty fast, like within the course of a year or two. So this is from me literally writing and publishing my book to building out this business. So now here I had all these clients. I had publishing clients. Now I had whole cohorts of students, 15, 20 students, and I was trying to manage it all. But not only that, you finish up the program, you're finished with your book, you come through publishing. So now I've been publishing books for like a year or two, and I have all these published authors that were trying to monetize their books, but they published their books and weren't making sales. So then I'm like, well, let me teach you how I've been able to monetize my book. And that was through speaking. That was through course creation and high ticket coaching and consulting, which I had started doing, like VIP days and things like that. And people were like, how do I get somebody to pay me $2,000 for a day? How do I get somebody to pay me $3,500? And I'm like, yeah, you can do all of that as an author, and so that's really what I've been able to do. But I really, because I had clients and books and all of that, I wasn't able to focus on speaking like I wanted to.
Right.
So what I
And it takes a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time because with even the reaching out and the following up, I didn't have the capacity to do it because my days were spent managing clients.
Right.
So that's when I began learning about outsourcing. Let me get this off of my plate. So I started adding onto my team, hiring a researcher to research speaking engagements for me and adding onto my team even more. So now I can literally go full-fledged into speaking the way I've wanted to, but haven't been able to. And I'm super, super excited.
Yeah, I think that's definitely helpful because I don't know if you all listening know, but I did everything myself for reaching out. But if you're thinking about bringing someone on and you have a full-time job, so you have a way to finance that, or you have a successful business already, it makes perfect sense to bring someone on. Just make sure if you do it yourself, record yourself doing it on Zoom, do it yourself a few times. That way you know how to do it really well and you can train someone else, because with speaking, they need to be able to deduce who's the actual decision maker. So I have a woman that sends out all my emails and I have another guy who does my initial sales calls because you spend so much time on the phone, like trying to find out. All you need is the vice principal's email. Right. I don't want to spend 20 minutes going through the administrator who doesn't want to answer the phone. Like I don't have time to do that. So all of that stuff is really helpful. But if you can come up with a sales script because you do it yourself 5 times, like good, hand that off to someone else. So I'm glad that you've done that.
Well, see, for me, I'm doing my own calls. They're doing the research and the emailing. So they're getting that out the way. They're doing the research and have already started. So, and because I've done it, I was able to train them and say, this is what you do. This is how you do it. These are the emails that we're going to send out. These are the type of articles I need you to find, resources I need you to find, X, Y, and Z. But I'm the one who gets on the phone.
Yeah, he gets on the phone because the initial call to find out who the decision maker is, like the straight cold calls, I have someone that does that. And I do all of my closing calls. So once they're like, okay, I've looked at our website, I am interested, then I get on that call to do that because it takes so much time. But we do a lot of stuff initially through email. And at the Speak Your Way to Cash program, you'll get my emails, which have gotten a 60% open rate. And we track how different emails perform. And if you are doing this, use a CRM so you can see, which subject lines get people to open most. What's the industry average? How do you beat that? Because I think the industry average is a lot lower than 60%. Well, I know it's a lot lower than 60%, but you need to just track all of your numbers, speakers, so that you're making sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck. So for everyone out there who's listening, who's like, okay, I'm ready. I either need to do the author's boot camp or I need to learn the business behind my book because it's on the shelf and no one's buying it. How do they contact you to get to the next level of their publishing journey?
Make sure that you check me out. My website right now is JazmineWomack.com. And I say it right now because, like I said, I'm about to go through a rebrand. Yeah. So, it's JazmineWomack.com. You can also check out our publishing packages at P31publishing.com. And I'm also on Instagram at the Jazmine. It's Jasmine spelled the regular way, Jasmine Womack. That's where you can find me on Instagram.
All right, guys. And I'm going to link to everything, her website, the author's boot camp, and she will be at our Atlanta event. So you can also catch her there, which is August 31st, which is crazy because it's coming up right around the corner. Time is going so fast, guys. But Jazmine, thank you so much for joining us. We really, really, really appreciate your time, and we cannot wait to see you on the 31st.
Awesome. I'm super excited.
Definitely. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Okay, guys. Jazz dropped some really big gems. Definitely want to make sure that you know that she will be at our event, Speak Your Way to Cash, on August 31st in Atlanta, Georgia. And do not worry if you miss that event. There will be the last Speak Your Way to Cash Live of the year. Can you believe it? It's our 4th and last Speak Your Way to Cash of the year of 2019. And that will be in my hometown of Chicago. And we have some dope things cooking for that event. So make sure that if you're in the city or can fly to the city, that you get there, that you get in the room. It's always better when you're in the room. And as of right now, we don't record these events, so there is not a replay option. So you need to get in the room, do what it takes to get in the room. And that'll be on October 26th. You can find out more about all of these events and what I have cooking up at ashleynicolekirkwood.com. Go right to the events tab to find out more about our Speak Your Way to Cash programs. And then 2, if you're listening to this and you really think that it would be awesome to have me as your speaking coach and you would really want to find out how we can develop your personalized pitch plan, fill out your application for a VIP day with me, also on ashleynicolekirkwood.com. So head on over to my new internet home, ashleynicolekirkwood.com, and see what we have cooking for you. You'll also find a free speaker training on that website. And as always, guys, tweet me. Let me know what you think. I love hearing your feedback on the podcast, and I am just super stoked to be able to serve you all in this capacity. All right, so signing out for real this time, Ashley Kirkwood. Talk to you soon.